Jiv jago, jiv jago. Gaura Chandra bole 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 kota nidra jayo maya pisachira kole kota jayo maya kota nidra jayo maya pisachira kole kota nidra jayo maya bajibo boliya ese samsara bitare bajibo boliya ese bajibo boliya ese samsara bitare bajibo boliya boliya rohile tume avidyara bore boliya rohile tume boliya rohile tume avidyara bore eneti osadi maya nasibaro lagi eneti তোমারে লইতে আমি হইনু আবতারা তোমারে লইতে আমি হইনু আবতারা তোমারে লইতে আমি হইনু আবতারা কে আছে তোমারা আমি বিনা বন্ধু কে আছে তোমারা আমি বিনা বন্ধু আর কে আছে তোমারা আমি বিনা বন্ধু আর কে আছে তোমারা এনেছে ঔষধি মায়া নাসিবার লাগে এনেছে ঔষধি classes. That's why we should chant it more often.
Yes,
yeah. Enesi oshadi maya nasi baro lagi. Enesi oshadi maya Menesi oshadi maya nasi baro lagi. Nasibaro lagi. Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Smagi. Hari Nama Maha Mantra Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi. Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhur Charane Pariya. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhur Bhakti Vinoda Prabhur Charane Pariya. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhur Charane Pariya. Say Hari Nama Mantra Layo Magiya. Say Hari Nama Mantra Lailo Magiya. Say Hari Nama Mantra Lailo Magiya. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Jaya Goranitaya, 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 Goranitaya. Jaya Goranitaya, 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 Goranitaya. Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivada Dhari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivada Dhari, Girivada Dhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Thira Vanamsari, Jamuna Thira Vanamsari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadam Dhari, Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Dhari, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Thira Vanamsari, Jamuna Thira Vanamsari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe Radha Madhava, Radha. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe Radha Madhava, Radha. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Pimanandi. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charan Narvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Skandi Viti Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jainitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Syam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dhram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs it becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class, continuing from canto number 1. Chapter 13, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Text number 42. Yes. Yatha Gavo Nasi Protas Tantyam Badhash Cha Damadhibihi Vak Tantyam Namabhir Badha Vahanti Valim Ishituhu Yatha Gavo Nasi Protas Tantyam Badhascha Dhamabhihi Vak Tantyam Namabhir Badha Vahanti balim ishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas. Tantyam badhasya dhamibihi. Vaktantyam nababhir badha. Vahanti balim ishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas. Tantyam badhasya dhamabihi. Vaktantyam namabhir badha. Vahanti balim ishituhu.
Yatha gavo nasi protas, tantyam baddhas sadamabihi, vakatantyam namabhir baddha, vahanti balimishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas,
Tantyam badhasya dhamabihi. Vaktantyam namabhir badha. Vahanti balim ishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas. Tantyam badhasya dhamabihi. Vaktatyam namabhir badha. Bhanti balim ishituhu. Yatha, as much as, gavaha, cow, nasi, by the nose, protaha, strung, tantyam, by the thread, baddaha, bound by, cha, also, damabihi, by ropes, vaktantyam, in the network of Vedic hymns, namabihi, by nomenclatures, baddaha, conditioned, bahanti, carry on, balim, orders, ishituhu, for being controlled by the Supreme Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Kindly repeat after me. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Purport. Every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, thinks that he is free by himself, but actually no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. The laws of the Lord are severe because they cannot be disobeyed in any circumstance. The man-made laws may be evaded by cunning outlaws, but in the codes of the Supreme Lawmaker, there is not the slightest possibility of neglecting the laws. A slight change in the course of God-made law can bring about a massive danger to be faced by the lawbreaker. Such laws of the Supreme are generally known as the codes of religion under different conditions. But the principles of religion everywhere, the principle of religion everywhere is one and the same, namely, obey the orders of the Supreme God, the codes of religion. That is a condition of material existence. All living beings in the material world have taken up the risk of conditioned life by their own decision and are thus entrapped by the laws of the material nature. The only way to get out of the entanglement is to agree to obey the Supreme. But instead of becoming free from the clutches of Maya or illusion, foolish human beings become proud, become bound up by different nomenclatures, being designated as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Hindus, Mohammedans, Indians, Europeans, Americans, Chinese, Canadians are not there, and many others. Okay, we're there in the many others. Yeah. And thus they carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord under the influence of respective scriptural or legislative injunctions. The statutory laws of the state are imperfect imitation replicas of religious codes. The secular state, or the godless state, allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. The result is that the people in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man.
Prabhupada said if they knew, they would kill me. They knew what I was saying.
You're far away from my microphone, so it's okay. Now you have to behave now. You have to behave.
I'm sorry.
Every man is imperfect by constitution, under conditions of material existence, and there is not the least possibility that even the most materially advanced man can enact perfect legislation. There you go. On the other hand, there is no such imperfection in the laws of God. If leaders are educated in the laws of God, there is no necessity of a makeshift legislative council of aimless men. Aimless men. A ship without a rudder, or a boat without a rudder. A ship without a captain. Yeah. There is no necessity of change in the makeshift laws of man, but there is no change in the God-made laws because they are made perfect by the all-perfect personality of Godhead. The codes of religion, scriptural injunctions are made by liberated representatives of God in consideration of different conditions of living. And by carrying out the orders of the Lord, the conditioned living beings gradually become free from the clutches of material existence. The factual position of the living being is, however, that he is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. In his liberated state, he renders service to the Lord in transcendental love and thus enjoys a life of full freedom even sometimes on an equal level with the Lord, or sometimes more than the Lord. But in the conditioned material world, every living being wants to be the Lord of another living being, of other living beings, and thus by the illusion of Maya, this mentality of lording it over becomes a cause of further extension of conditional life. So in the material world, the living being is still more conditioned until he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship. That is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita and all other recognized scriptures of the world. Translation again: as a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. So this is Narada Muni beginning to address both Yudhishthira Maharaj and Sanjay, who have become very aggrieved, very distressed, and great anxiety, not knowing where Dhritarashtra has gone. Every day Yudhishthira Maharaj would come and offer his respects, his obeisances, as it is enjoined in the Vedic culture, giving respect to elders. And one fine morning, Dhritarashtra was not there. And Sanjaya, who also used to see him every day, felt greatly disturbed because he was his confidant, practically speaking. He was his secretary. He was a secretary. Dhritarashtra would reveal everything to him, except this one thing: I'm leaving for the north. I'm leaving the palace. So here Narada Muni is beginning to give his valuable instructions and the codes. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Very famous instruction from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that the laws, the principles of dharma, which are meant to be understood as, Prabhupada uses the word and repeats it also, severe laws, the severe laws, the laws of dharma, the laws enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot be neglected, cannot be changed. They are eternal laws, they are eternal principles. Why are they eternal? Because, and why they are eternal and why they cannot or should not be changed or cannot be changed? Because they are perfect. When something is perfect, you don't need to change it. You don't need to adjust it. So this is actually we could say the jewel of Vedic knowledge, is that it is giving us, introducing us to eternal perfect principles. Perfect principles which, when accepted and properly understood, can help us individually and can help the whole of humanity to live in such a way that we learn how to put an end to our miserable condition in the material world, and to reinstate ourselves in our natural and eternal position as servants of the Lord. That is what Sanatana Dharma is all about. And as Prabhupada points out, every country has so many different laws, which are, for the most part, are man-made laws, and therefore they're constantly changing. And those laws are bringing all kinds of hardship and sufferings actually to human beings, and in ways, especially in modern day society, where practically speaking it's like lawless state, because the so-called laws are not at all in line, not at all in keeping or in following with what is meant to be the actual laws for mankind. So this is, it's only when we become introduced to this Vedic knowledge, and it is only when we take the proper time to to be educated and to be trained in that Vedic knowledge, that we can become somewhat knowledgeable as to how things are meant to be done. And this is like the major challenge that that we have individually and collectively as a society, and this cannot be achieved or accomplished. This cannot be realized unless we introduce the principles of Varnashrama Dharma, because we're talking here about society. We're talking here about guiding and organizing the whole of humanity, the whole of society. And that is based on eternal principles. In other words, in as much as the eternal principles of the jiva, in terms of being meant to be in a loving, personal, ever-increasing relationship with Krishna, which is the only means by which we can begin to taste and to experience transcendental happiness. Actually, even above transcendental happiness, because our acharyas describe it as being devotional happiness, which is above actually transcendental happiness. So in the same way that these laws, this whole description, this is the gift of the Goswamis actually. This is the gift of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is which is a very we could say well kept secret. The Vedic knowledge, even the basic knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is a well kept secret. It is very confidential, and unless Krishna, he mentions this point 9.1, very important instruction that Krishna begins this chapter before speaking about Raja Vidya, which is 9.2. 9.1, Sri Bhagavan Uvasa, idam tu te guyatamam pravakshyami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajgadva mokshase shubhat. Krishna explains, the Supreme Lord said, my dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most secret wisdom, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Unless one has or develops the mentality that Arjuna developed, in terms of not being envious, not being of the mentality of lording it over, means developing the mentality of submissiveness, which is the beginning qualification and quality needed to actually understand this knowledge, then we will never properly understand the codes of religiosity, the codes of religion, the principles of religion. Every single moment, this is nicely explained in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, we are being pulled, actually, we are being controlled to the minute, to the, what is it, most smallest, I mean, in all respects. And one who is therefore intelligent will learn about these severe laws of created, established by the Lord, and will abide by them and will follow them, because that is to our ultimate benefit. That is to our ultimate spiritual benefit. That is to our material benefit as well. And when we neglect to recognize these laws, these eternal laws, when we neglect or refuse to follow them, then we get severe reactions. We're seeing everywhere. I mean, it's always there in the material world, but it's even more so in modern day society, because people have become more and more godless, and because people are totally ignorant of these eternal laws. And therefore, it is our primary duty and responsibility to study these laws. That's why Prabhupada established these different courses, and that's why Prabhupada told us to systematically, it's the first of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, to systematically educate the people of the world about the basic principles of God consciousness. And that's why Prabhupada wanted us, and it's amazing, it's really amazing that it has not happened. That is why Prabhupada wanted us to establish Varnashram colleges. It's like as plain and as clear as the sunlight, as the sunshine. So that we could systematically understand and become trained to properly. Brahmanas are meant to lead society. They're meant to direct, to give guidance to society. But if we don't have such trained brahmanas, then society remains in chaos, isn't it? So it is not complete when we only focus on one aspect of the instructions that are given by Krishna. One aspect, I mean, when we simply, this leads to a kind of sahajism, sahaja. This is exactly what happened shortly after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. See, when we study a little bit what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did, because our acharyas explain, Srila Prabhupada explains, how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had that tremendous challenge of redirecting the mission of Lord Chaitanya, which had been deviated for about 300 years because of this imbalance because of people taking the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, but only one aspect of the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, which developed into the Sahaja movement in so many different categories. And therefore the real mission of the Lord became polluted, became lost. So therefore, it is personalities like beginning from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whose appearance we're celebrating tomorrow, and our own founder Acharya, who actually gave us that proper understanding, that proper vision. What is that proper vision? If we don't actually recognize and establish varnashram, we are bound to become defeated. We're bound to repeat history. This is a very important aspect, which, if not properly understood, will simply create havoc. We must absolutely recognize the different dimensions of dharma, which are based also on eternal principles. It is not only spiritual knowledge, spiritual understanding, or spiritual principles, or spiritual concepts that are eternal. In our concept, in the eternal concept of Sanatana Dharma, it is not only, this is like a fundamental and essential point which we are missing, which we are badly missing and largely missing. That within this eternal concept of Sanatana Dharma, there are eternal principles for the jiva in terms of being an eternal servant of Krishna. Jiver Swaruphoy Krishna Nityadas. That is the perfect definition of what is called our spiritual Swadharma. Simultaneously and in a parallel manner, there are eternal principles in terms of how we are meant to live in the material world as conditioned souls. Conditioned souls, it is understood, those who come in the material world, they're conditioned, this is the whole purport here, by the laws, the stringent, severe laws of nature. And those laws are intimately connected. We again and again make this point. They are intimately connected with these three mothers: Mother Cow, Mother Nature, and Mother Saraswati. We cannot properly cultivate knowledge if we are neglecting these two mothers, which we are in modern day society, and which we are, unfortunately, as devotees also. Whole Vedic culture is based and molded on these three mothers. And these three mothers are meant to be an integral part of our daily lives, of our daily activities. And if we don't accept that, if we don't understand that, if we don't practice that, if we don't put that into practice, then we will miss out. We will not be able to properly execute our mission of life. What is that verse? Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnum aradhanam param. That instruction given by Lord Shiva. Aradhananam sarvesam Vishnum aradhanam param. I forget the third line. Then tadiyanam, the purport is not coming. The purport is that the question is being asked by Parvati. What is of all? There's so many great personalities. There's so many types of worship are there. What is the highest form of worship? And Lord Shiva begins to explain the highest form of worship is Vishnu. Highest form of worship is Lord Vishnu. But higher than worshipping of Vishnu is worshipping what is dear to Vishnu. Tadiya. Tadiya means what is dear, what is close. So what is Tadiya? Tadiya means brahmanas. Tadiya means cows. Tadiya means Mother Bhumi, nature. There's so many things, actually, everything that is especially dear to Krishna, that we should be serving, that we should be worshipping, isn't it? And especially in the context of Vedic culture, that is so clearly described. It is especially described by Krishna himself. Krishna not only he describes it, but he lives it. He demonstrates it personally by his daily activities, isn't it? That is meant to be the unchanging way of living. That is meant to be the unchanging lifestyle for human beings. To live in harmony with nature, to serve Mother Nature, to serve the cows as well. This is a topic that we refer to so often, but it is not easy to penetrate. It's just like pure bhakti. We know, we speak about it all the time, but we know how it's because it's such a deep and hidden subject matter. It is not at all easy to realize. Similarly, this other level of dharma is not easy to unveil. It's like nowadays, because we become so disconnected with nature. Most of us who are from cities, especially, if we come in the country, anywhere where there's like some green grass or some trees and whatnot, we don't know at all. For most of us don't know the difference between, what's the name of different trees, what herbs are good for our health and what are poisonous, for example. One visitor, we had a visitor coming to our Hibri farm some years back. In front of the temple, we had one big tree. And, again, because we're so ignorant, this tree was giving all kinds of fruits, once or twice a year. This one person, I wasn't there at the time, but they had fallen, so he took one, he ate it. He fell unconscious because it was a poison tree. He almost died. And so we eventually cut that tree down. Of course, that tree probably has medicinal value. Yeah, I mean, everything has, when the devotee was walking, some devotees were, it was a morning walk, Prabhupada, I think it was here in Mayapur, they were walking and then Prabhupada would always, okay, let's go this way, let's go that way. And when the devotee was saying, we should not go this way, these are useless herbs and whatnot, Prabhupada immediately, they're not useless, you're useless. Because you don't know the value. Everything that is growing, everything in nature has a reason and a purpose. We just don't know.
Maharaj, you heard of this Navapashana?
Huh?
Navapashana.
Nava?
Pashana.
9
poisons. In southern India, if you get a time, please visit this. It's in Tamil Nadu. There is a temple of Kartikeya, Lord Shiva's son.
Right.
The deity was made by the disciple of Agastya Muni.
Okay.
It is made out of 9 poisons. 9 poisons they have combined and made the deity. And it is said that anybody takes the Charanamrit of the Abhisheka water, it will cure any disease in the world. There is no single disease which cannot be cured.
Please send us the link. They should be made known to the whole world. Yeah, okay.
Even now, like lakhs and lakhs of visitors visit.
I see.
And that deity still exists.
Okay.
And it is not made out of any stone or anything. It's made out of poison. And I don't know what combination they have done.
Okay.
It is Vedic science.
Yeah, well, I believe it. I'm a believer. So that's why, Vedic culture has so much of knowledge that is unknown. I mean, to the vast majority of people and to the vast majority of devotees also. That's why the importance of... yesterday I was attending the 25th anniversary of the Mayapur Institute, Silver Jubilee. It was very nice, because any educational institution that's been, going for 25 years is an achievement. And they have many teachers, many courses and whatnot. And it's like, in many ways, it's like the helping to shape what eventually Mayapur is meant to become, as it was 500 years ago. The seat of education. It was it was a cultural center, isn't it? A very important cultural center. And Mayapur, being the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and being the headquarters, world headquarters of Prabhupada established Mayapur, the world headquarters of the society he has established, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So yes, there's meant to be, that's predicted also and expressed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who directly instructed, to his son to establish educational facility, eventually university, Mayapur University will one day become manifest. But it will not be successful unless this whole dimension and aspect of Varnashrama is introduced, which helps us understand, actually, otherwise we totally remain ignorant of how society is meant to be organized and how it's meant to be directed, and what kind of guidance we are meant as a society, and also individually as persons who are studying Vedic knowledge, who are studying Dharma, the principles of Dharma, the codes of religiosity, which is being referred to here. Unless that whole dimension and aspect is there, something will be missing. Yes?
Maharaj, this, the whole, this Varnashram, I think we require more Kshatriyas, Maharaj, to execute that.
Yes.
What is happening now, Maharaj? Brahmanas means they think whoever does this course, that is what generally this is. and Varnashram is taken as farm and cows. This is what mentality. There is no point of.
They
suffering
jump over.
This is what we take as. Brahmana means who sits on the Vyasasana and speaks about scripture. That is what is generally.
And not only that, Maharaj, adding to this, the people who are doing puja in the temple or arti, they are considered brahmanas.
Well, there are different activities and services of brahmanas, but brahmanas are meant to be those who actually have the knowledge of all of the different varnas and who can teach and actually help train and guide and direct all the, especially brahmanas are meant to lead and train the kshatriyas. As well as the Vaishyas. They are meant to be the topmost leaders within society who guide other those who are meant to be natural leaders, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. And that's very important, yes.
Maharaj, so we are for 50 years or something, we are distributing plenty of books about pure bhakti.
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita, with the Prabhupada's Pure Bhakti Purpose, and other books, Nectar of Devotion,
yes.
Small books, all speaking about pure bhakti. And people learn them or they read them, but they don't understand because there's lack of, how to say, merit, lack of purity.
Lack of something.
So how the teaching or education of the Varnashram is much more complicated. So how we can accept that people who don't get this simple, of course it's not easy, but simple knowledge, they will get the more complicated knowledge of Varnashram, the same people. Or we are thinking that we spread the Varnashram knowledge for children,
so that in the future,
and then they will grow up.
And well, that expression is there in English. There probably is a similar one in Sanskrit. I don't know. That you can't teach new tricks to old dogs. You can't teach new tricks to old dogs.
Yes. Agreed, Maharaj.
When we are conditioned, especially as we grow older, we become conditioned in our way of thinking, yes. And it's more difficult to accept actually something that is new. So that is a factor. That's a major factor actually, and and in so many ways that's why this project is very important, because it is meant to focus especially on this aspect without neglecting, of course, the other dimension of dharma, the spiritual dimension, because that very word is there, isn't it? Daiva. Daiva Varnashrama. Daiva Varnashrama. We're not understanding, and it's just taking a long time for the rank and file devotees and for leaders in general also to understand the absolute necessity of introducing this whole dimension, which is actually meant to further help us more properly understand what we refer to as a higher level, means the spiritual dimension, spiritual aspect. I mean, Prabhupada, we should at least try to understand that, Srila Prabhupada would not have spoken so extensively on the subject matter if he didn't think it was important. He would not have given us instructions to establish what he referred to as 50% of his mission, Varnashrama Dharma, if he didn't think it was important. 2 weeks or so before leaving his body, Srila Prabhupada would not have made reference at that time to Varnashrama. And we simply misunderstand. We misunderstand because we've not taken sufficient time to have the proper philosophical understanding. Then, only then we can begin to actually apply.
Actually, this was the last endeavor that Srila Prabhupada made as far as the specifically active service. He was very ill.
Yes.
Then he decided, I'm going to Gitanagari.
To Gita
I'm
Nagari.
going to teach you.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
going to teach you. And then he had to come back.
Correct. Yeah. Prabhupada only made it to London, but he was on his way.
On his way.
He was on his way to Gita Nagari. Correct. Yes.
Maharaj, currently I am closely associated to the schools as well. Children I am seeing in Bangalore.
Yes.
The situation is they don't even know the small things like what is butterfly.
What is?
Butterflies.
Butterfly. Yes.
Because they have lived in cities for so long.
Yeah.
And the city areas are so congested.
Yes.
There is no access to any small things. And even for Bhagavatam or anything to be understood, we need to understand the nature. Otherwise, lotus and all these things, they will not understand.
Yeah.
Now, adding to this situation like this, of course, Prabhupada's endeavor was there to create Varnashrama, and it's a really great task. Is there any way that we can put this to other sampradayas also? Because Sri Vaishnavas hold the highest Vedic knowledge in terms of the Vedas, because that lineages are still very strong in at least the southern India part where I've seen. They are having access to a lot of these Vedic knowledge. Is there any way that we can put forward to them, or some form of the other sampradayas also who before primarily had gurukuls due to the Indian Education Act that the government came up, that the British government came up?
Right.
All the gurukuls were lost.
Correct.
Is there any way we can put forward, at least educate the other people you can think of, for us to share the same information with them?
Well, there's a need, Prabhupada has indicated that there are these 4 sampradayas, and some sampradayas might be more connected with certain of the teachings. Our particular, let's say, especially Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has especially focused on the bhakti element.
Yes.
which is actually the highest and topmost, we could say, revelation. But in doing this, it was never the intention to neglect to neglect other aspects of dharma, isn't it? And therefore, especially when we, which is what happened, as I was mentioning a little earlier, the major deviation that took place shortly after Mahaprabhu's departure, after the departure of those 3 illustrious personalities, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and Srinivasa Acharya, and therefore, because we have not kept this, what is meant to be balance between the material and spiritual dimension, or the material and spiritual aspect of dharma. Therefore, we have created, and that situation still prevails today, an imbalance between our spiritual practice, spiritual duties, the spiritual laws which are there in Sanatana Dharma, and the material laws. Prabhupada was trying to point this out by encouraging us, by directing us to establish self-sufficient communities based on the principles of Dharma, which would, because those are more in keeping with the Vedic culture to live in villages, to live localized way of life, to grow our own food, to be in connection with nature, to be dependent on mother cow, etc. So that's a whole dimension which in modern day society, especially because of overemphasis on materialism, has totally neglected. And therefore we have created complete havoc in society. Not only in society, but actually in nature. You know, the whole, the soil and the land upon which we depend for our sustenance, for our existence. We cannot live without food. We've practically destroyed this globally. You know, globally, 70% of the soil is like not able to produce proper food. You know, that's one of the global problems that has been brought out in the last, let's say, 2 decades, what is called the problem of desertification. We know there's different countries have different areas of dry or desert land. In the last maybe decade especially, more and more land is becoming desert-like. You know, the percentage of deserts, of dry land, is increasing at a very alarming rate because we're doing things in the wrong way, you know. And therefore, as more land becomes desert, that means we will be able to produce less. The more we have dry land, then the less production of food. But at the same time, the population is increasing. So this is a major crisis. Population is increasing, you need more food, but your ability to produce food is becoming less. So we are creating all kinds of imbalances like this. The planet, this planet Earth, is actually suffering immensely, and we cannot imagine. You know, like there is a major crisis. Scientists cannot understand why so many more and more volcanoes. Why Mother Earth is breaking up. You know, they're talking about there's some new continents in the process of being made. Because inside the earth, just like when our body becomes diseased, we get a fever and our temperature goes up. The temperature of this planet is about to explode. This is like how serious the whole situation is. I mean, there's so many things that are taking place because of our major deviations.
I was doing some research recently, and there's so much evidence that on so many levels, there's more and more of these catastrophes.
More and more of?
These catastrophes.
Yeah.
They're increasing. There's even articles in the newspapers now. That's where I saw them. People are beginning to notice.
Yes, correct.
Huge increase in these catastrophes.
So we have created due to our deviation from Dharma, basically, all of these anomalies, all of this chaotic situation. And the only remedy is actually to understand Dharma in its proper perspective, the spiritual and material dimension of Dharma. And the material dimension of Dharma, without Varnashrama, cannot be understood properly. We could continue, we should continue our discussion later because now we're getting close to darshan time. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanandi. Yeah. 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 I have to go, actually.